Hi there. Have you ever felt stuck in your English learning journey? Maybe you've been studying for years, memorizing vocabulary, practicing grammar, and listening to lessons. But when it's time to speak, the words just don't come out. You stand there, your mind racing, trying to form a sentence, but all you feel is frustration. Or maybe you feel shy, afraid of making mistakes, or worried that people will judge you. You think, what if I say something wrong? What if they laugh at me? I know exactly how that feels because I've been there too. There was a time when I couldn't even say a simple sentence in English without stumbling over my words. I felt like I was trapped in a bubble, unable to express myself or connect with others. But today, I want to tell you something important. You're not alone, and you can break free from that bubble. Today, I want to take you on a journey, my journey, from being a complete beginner to becoming a confident English speaker. I'll share not just my story, but also the exact steps, tips, and mindset shifts that helped me along the way. I'll show you how I went from feeling stuck and frustrated to speaking English with confidence and joy. And the best part? You can use these same strategies to improve your English fluency too. Whether you're just starting out or you've been learning for years, these lessons will help you take your English to the next level. So, grab a cup of tea, sit back, and let's dive into this journey together. By the end of this video, you'll feel inspired, motivated, and ready to take action. Let's get started. Let me take you back to when I was in school. I was the quietest kid in class. You know that student who always sits at the back, hoping to disappear into the walls? That was me. Every time the teacher asked a question, I would look down at my desk, pretending to be busy with my notes, hoping she wouldn't call on me. I wanted to speak English so badly. I dreamed of having conversations, sharing my ideas, and expressing myself confidently. But every time I opened my mouth, fear took over. I was terrified of making mistakes. My mind would race with thoughts like, what if I say something wrong? What if my pronunciation is terrible? What if everyone laughs at me? That fear kept me silent. It felt like I was trapped in a cage, watching everyone else speak freely while I stayed stuck. I thought fluency was about being perfect, about knowing every word, every grammar rule, and speaking without a single mistake. And because I wasn't perfect, I stayed quiet. But one day, something changed. My teacher noticed how quiet I was. She saw me sitting there, day after day, never raising my hand, never joining in the high discussions. After class, she called me to her desk. I was nervous, thinking she was going to scold me for not participating. But instead, she smiled and said something I'll never forget. Fluency isn't about being perfect. It's about being brave enough to try. Those words hit me like a lightning bolt. For the first time, I realized that I didn't have to be perfect to speak English. I just had to be brave. I just had to try. That sentence changed everything for me. It was the beginning of my journey from fear to confidence, from silence to fluency. Today, I want to share with you the 5 key lessons I learned on my journey to fluency. These lessons aren't just theories or ideas. They're practical, actionable steps that I used myself, and they made all the difference in my English learning journey. When I first started, I felt overwhelmed. There were so many things to learn: vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, listening, speaking. It felt like climbing a mountain with no end in sight. But over time, I realized that fluency isn't about mastering everything at once. It's about taking small, consistent steps and focusing on what really works. These 5 lessons are the foundation of my success, and I truly believe they can help you too. Whether you're just starting out or you've been learning English for years, these strategies are simple, effective, and easy to apply. They don't require expensive courses or hours of boring study. Instead, they focus on real-life practice, building confidence, and enjoying the process. So, if you're ready to take your English to the next level, let's dive into these 5 lessons together. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear roadmap to follow, and you'll feel motivated and excited to start your own journey to fluency. Let's get started. Let's dive into Lesson 1. Start small, but start now. When I first decided to improve my English, I felt completely lost. I didn't know where to begin. There were so many things to learn: vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, listening, speaking. It felt like standing at the bottom of a huge mountain, looking up and wondering how I would ever reach the top. I remember sitting with my notebook, staring at a blank page, thinking, how am I supposed to learn all of this? It was overwhelming, and honestly, it made me want to give up before I even started. But then, I realized something important. I didn't have to climb the whole mountain at once. I just had to take the first step. So I started small, really small. I decided to learn just 3 new words every day. That's it. No pressure, no stress, just 3 words. I would write them down in my notebook, practice their pronunciation, and try to use them in simple sentences. At first, it felt like such a tiny step. I thought, how is this going to make a difference? But over time, those 3 words a day added up. In a month, I had learned 90 new words. In 6 months, I had over 500 words in my vocabulary. It was amazing to see how those small, consistent efforts added up. One of my favorite ways to practice was by labeling things around my house. I took small sticky notes and wrote the English names of everyday objects, like window, table, chair, mirror, and lamp. I stuck them on the actual objects, and every time I walked past them, I would say the word out loud. It was such a simple trick, but it worked wonders. For example, every morning when I opened the window, I would say the word out loud. When I sat at the table to eat, I would repeat the word. It became a fun little game, and before I knew it, these words became a natural part of my vocabulary. I didn't have to think about them anymore. They just came to me automatically. The key takeaway here is this: you don't have to do everything at once. Start with something small and manageable. It could be learning a few words a day, practicing one grammar rule, or even just listening to an English song and trying to understand the lyrics. The important thing is to start now. Don't wait for the perfect time or until you feel ready. The best time to start is today. Remember, fluency is built one small step at a time. So take that first step, no matter how small it seems. Trust me, those small steps will lead to big results. Now, let's move on to Lesson 2. Make mistakes your best friends. This lesson is all about changing the way you see mistakes. For most of us, mistakes feel like failures. We get embarrassed, we feel ashamed, and sometimes we even want to give up. But what if I told you that mistakes are actually your greatest teachers? Let me tell you a story. One day, I was at a restaurant and I wanted to order a sandwich. I was so nervous about speaking English that I rehearsed the sentence in my head over and over again. But when the waiter came to my table, I panicked. Instead of saying sandwich, I said sandal. Yes, sandal. The waiter looked at me with a confused expression, and I felt my face turn bright red. I was so embarrassed that I wanted to disappear. But you know what? That mistake taught me something incredibly important. It showed me that making mistakes is a natural part of learning. In fact, it's one of the most effective ways to learn. Every time you make a mistake, you discover something new, a word you mispronounced, a grammar rule you forgot, or a phrase you used incorrectly. And that discovery helps you improve. After that day, I started to see mistakes differently. Instead of fearing them, I embraced them. I realized that mistakes are not stumbling blocks. They're stepping stones. They guide you, teach you, and push you closer to fluency. Here's what I started doing. Every time I made a mistake, I would write it down in a notebook. For example, after the sandal incident, I wrote, correct word sandwich. My mistake, sandal. Why it happened. I confused the W and D sounds. Then, I practiced saying the correct word out loud several times until it felt natural. I even made a game out of it. I would challenge myself to use the correct word in different sentences throughout the day. Over time, something amazing happened. I started making fewer and fewer mistakes, and when I did make a mistake, I didn't feel embarrassed anymore. Instead, I felt curious. I would think, what can I learn from this? So, here's my advice to you. Don't be afraid to speak, even if you're not perfect. Every mistake you make is a step forward, not backward. The more you speak, the more mistakes you'll make, and the more you'll learn. Remember, even native speakers make mistakes. The difference is, they don't let those mistakes stop them. And neither should you. Embrace your mistakes, learn from them, and watch your confidence grow. Mistakes are not your enemies, they're your best friends on the journey to fluency. Now let's talk about Lesson 3. Surround yourself with English. This lesson is all about creating an environment where English is a natural part of your daily life. When I was learning, I realized something important. The more I immersed myself in the language, the faster I improved. It's like learning to swim. You can't become a good swimmer by just reading about it. You have to jump into the water and practice. So, I decided to bring English into every part of my day. One of the first things I did was change the language on my phone to English. At first, it was a little confusing. I didn't know what some of the settings or notifications meant, but that confusion pushed me to learn. Every time I saw a new word or phrase, I would look it up and try to understand it. Over time, I started recognizing those words and using them in my own sentences. It was like having a mini English lesson every time I used my phone. Next, I started listening to English songs. Music is such a powerful way to learn because it's fun and memorable. I would listen to my favorite songs and try to understand the lyrics. At first, I didn't catch everything, but I would look up the lyrics online and read along as I listened. This helped me learn new words, phrases, and even slang. Plus, singing along improved my pronunciation and made me feel more confident speaking English. Another thing I did was watch English movies and TV shows with subtitles. I started with subtitles in my native language, but as I got better, I switched to English subtitles. This helped me connect the spoken words with their written forms. I also paid attention to how the actors spoke, their tone, expressions, and body language. It was like getting a free lesson in natural, everyday English. But one of my favorite activities was listening to English podcasts. I would listen to them while cooking, cleaning, or even walking to school. At first, I didn't understand everything, and that's okay. The goal wasn't to understand every word. It was to get used to the rhythm and flow of the language. Over time, I started picking up new words, phrases, and expressions. I also learned how native speakers use English in real-life conversations, which is something you don't always get from textbooks. Here's the key takeaway. You don't have to move to an English-speaking country to immerse yourself in the language. You can create your own English environment right where you are. Change the language on your devices. Listen to English music, watch movies, and tune into podcasts. The more you surround yourself with English, the more natural it will feel. Remember, fluency isn't just about studying, it's about living the language. So start small, make it fun, and watch how quickly your skills improve. Surround yourself with English, and soon it will become a part of who you are. Now, let's dive into Lesson 4. Practice speaking every day. This lesson is all about taking action. Fluency isn't something you can achieve by just reading books or listening to lessons. You have to speak. Speaking is like the engine that drives your progress. Without it, your English skills might stay stuck in neutral. When I first started, I was terrified of speaking. I worried about making mistakes, sounding silly, or not being understood. But I realized that if I didn't start speaking, I would never improve. So I decided to take small, manageable steps to build my confidence. The first thing I did was talk to myself in English. Yes, you heard that right. I talked to myself. At first, it felt a little strange. I would stand in front of the mirror and describe my day out loud. I'd say things like, "Today, I woke up early, I had breakfast, and then I went to work." I also practiced talking about my plans like, "Tomorrow, I'm going to meet my friend, and we'll have lunch together." Sometimes, I would even have imaginary conversations. For example, I would pretend I was ordering food at a restaurant or asking for directions. It felt silly at first, but it helped me get comfortable with the language. I started to think in English more naturally, and my sentences became smoother and more fluent. But talking to myself wasn't enough. I knew I needed real conversations to take my skills to the next level. So, I started practicing with friends. We would have simple conversations in English, and we agreed to help each other with words we didn't know. For example, if I didn't know how to say something, I would ask, "How do you say this in English?" And my friend would help me. One of our favorite activities was role-playing. We would pretend to be in different situations, like shopping at a store, booking a hotel, or even having a job interview. It was a safe and supportive way to practice, and it made a huge difference in my fluency. I started to feel more confident expressing myself, and I wasn't as afraid of making mistakes anymore. Here's the key takeaway. Speaking is a skill, and like any skill, it improves with practice. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment or the perfect partner to start speaking. You can start today, even if it's just talking to yourself or practicing with a friend. Remember, every word you speak is a step forward. The more you practice, the more natural it will feel. So, don't be afraid to open your mouth and start speaking. Fluency is waiting for you on the other side of that first sentence. Finally, let's talk about Lesson 5. Believe in yourself. This lesson is the heart of everything. Learning a new language can be challenging, and there will be times when you feel frustrated, discouraged, or even ready to give up. But here's the truth. Every great English speaker was once a beginner too. They struggled, made mistakes, and felt unsure, just like you. The difference is they kept going, and you can too. I remember a time when I felt like giving up. I had been studying English for months, putting in hours of effort, but I still didn't feel confident. I would practice speaking, but my sentences felt awkward, and I kept forgetting words. I thought, maybe I'm just not good at this. Maybe I'll never be fluent. But then, something happened that changed everything. One day, I was at a tourist spot, and a foreigner asked me for directions. My heart started racing, and I felt that familiar fear creeping in. But instead of staying silent, I took a deep breath and decided to try. I said, "Go straight, then turn left at the big shop." It wasn't perfect. My grammar might have been a little off, and my pronunciation wasn't flawless, but the tourist understood me. They smiled, thanked me, and went on their way. That small victory gave me the motivation to keep going. It showed me that I didn't have to be perfect to communicate. I just had to try. That moment reminded me why I started learning English in the first place, to connect with people, share my thoughts, and explore new opportunities. So no matter where you are in your journey, don't give up. There will be days when you feel like you're not making progress, but trust me, you are. Every word you learn, every sentence you speak, is a step closer to fluency. Even if it feels slow, even if it feels hard, keep moving forward. Here's something I want you to remember. Fluency isn't about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's about showing up every day, even when it's tough. It's about believing in yourself, even when you doubt yourself. So, take a moment to celebrate how far you've come. Maybe you've learned a new word today, had a short conversation, or even just understood a sentence in a movie. Those are all victories. And every victory, no matter how small, is worth celebrating. Believe in yourself because you are capable of amazing things. You are stronger than your doubts, braver than your fears, and more determined than your challenges. Keep going, keep learning, and keep speaking. Fluency is not just about mastering a language. It's about discovering the best version of yourself. And remember, I'm here cheering you on every step of the way. You've got this. Before we wrap you up, let's quickly recap the 5 lessons we've covered today. These lessons are the foundation of my journey to fluency, and I truly believe they can help you too. Lesson 1. Start small but start now. Remember, fluency doesn't happen overnight. It's built one small step at a time. Whether it's learning a few new words a day, labeling objects around your house, or practicing simple sentences, the key is to start now. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Take that first step today. Lesson 2. Make mistakes your best friends. Mistakes are not your enemies. They're your teachers. Every time you make a mistake, you learn something new. So don't be afraid to speak, even if you're not perfect. Embrace your mistakes, learn from them, and watch your confidence grow. Lesson 3. Surround yourself with English. Create an environment where English is a natural part of your daily life. Change the language on your phone, listen to English songs, watch movies, and tune into podcasts. The more you immerse yourself in the language, the faster you'll improve. Lesson 4. Practice speaking every day. Speaking is the engine that drives your progress. Start by talking to yourself, then practice with friends or language partners. Role play different situations, have conversations, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. The more you speak, the more fluent you'll become. Lesson 5. Believe in yourself. Finally, and most importantly, believe in yourself. Learning a new language is challenging, but you are capable of amazing things. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small, and keep moving forward. Fluency is not just about mastering a language. It's about discovering the best version of yourself. These 5 lessons helped me go from a shy, hesitant speaker to someone who now loves speaking English confidently. And I know they can help you too. Whether you're just starting out or you've been learning for years, these strategies are simple, practical, and effective. So, take these lessons, apply them in your daily life, and watch your English skills soar. Remember, fluency is a journey, not a destination. Enjoy the process, celebrate your progress, and keep believing in yourself. Now, I want to hear from you. What's one thing you're going to do today to improve your English fluency? Maybe it's practicing a new phrase, watching an English video, or having a conversation with a friend. Whatever it is, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear about your goals and cheer you on. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tips, stories, and inspiration. Your support means the world to me, and it helps me create more content to help you on your journey. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, your voice matters. Every word you speak is a bridge to new opportunities, new connections, and new experiences. So keep speaking, keep learning, and keep shining. I believe in you, and I can't wait to see how far you'll go. See you in the next video.